Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're in the right place at the right time. Today is Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I'm so excited today. I have my sister in broadcasting in the green room, and I'm so excited that we got all of the technical difficulties out the way. So I know she's in the green room this time. So we're going to have a interesting conversation today. So before go to her in the green room, I want to give my shout outs out the way. The very first shout out that I always give is about my mentor, Dr. Hunt. Dr. Hunt and I have been traveling in life together for 30 plus years. And out of the 30 plus years that we have been traveling, he has been a blessing to both me and my family, as well as I have been a blessing to both he and his family. And one of the reasons that I talk about my mentor as much as I do is because I'm trying to encourage people to consider getting a mentor for themselves. The value of a mentor is so great. You can always count on them to be able to help you in life's journey that can be rough sometimes. So sometimes you need somebody to be able to call and say, hey, how should I handle this? How should I do that? And they're able to help you navigate through those difficult times in your life. So I encourage it. I really want people to go out and find somebody that can be there for them. Life is rough by yourself, and sometimes you need somebody you can trust, that you can count on, that can steer you and lead you in the right direction. So get you a mentor and then get you a show and shout them out, because that's what I do. Every chance I get, I shout my mentor out loud and clear. All right, I want to invite you guys over to my website, ask-dr-ron.com. When you get over there, I want you to notice that you can see the live broadcast. Every time I go live, right there on the website, my IT person has made it possible so that you can go to one place and see the show. Click on that watch live and you'll get a chance to see every live broadcast. So definitely go over there and check it out. I also want to encourage you to support all of my advertisers. Now, this is just a list of a few of my advertisers, but there are many more on the website. One of the first ones I want to talk about is RRJ Web. If you have a website that needs to be fixed because it's broken, or if you want to create a website, go over to RRJ Web. He will help you put together all of the pieces of that puzzle that go along with building a website, because it is a big puzzle and sometimes people don't know how to handle that, but he's an expert at it. SMJ Group, I want to talk about them because I know we're just coming out of tax filing season, and if you did not get a chance to file your taxes, you might want to give SMJ Group a call so they can help you sort out what you have to do to keep the IRS off your back. He does personal and business taxes, so reach out to him. They can help you with your accounting problems. They can also help you with putting payroll together for your business. They handle all of those types of services. Also, I want to talk about Port Again Sam. Now, Port Again Sam has been with me for 15 plus years, and he brings in some of the best wines and spirits from all over the world. And I tell you, if you are a person that likes a little wine or a little cognac every now and then, you're going to want to reach out to Port Again Sam. Port Again Sam will arrange a private wine tasting for you so that you can get in there and find your new wine. I tell you, your new wine is waiting for you to find it. So definitely you want to click on any of the banners that you see on the website or any of the flyers, and they'll take you over to the websites of all of my sponsors so that you can see what they do directly on their website and get in contact with them directly on their website. And the last sponsor I want to talk about, which is unbelievable how he's able to do this. Prince Hunter Financial Group. The Prince Hunter Financial Group teaches people how to work the stock market and the Forex market. You can build family wealth and astronomical dollars and cents doing the stock market like many people have learned to do, and the Forex market. But Prince Hunter Group is teaching people how to do this. And if you tell them that you saw this advertisement on this network, they're going to give you 4 free classes. Now, when you take your 4 free classes, you'll be surprised how much you will learn and be able to understand how the market works. Okay? So I encourage you to click on the banner, go over to his website, and when you get over there, reach out to him, send him an email, give him a call, say, hey, I'd like to schedule my 4 free classes. And then that way you'll be able to learn the beginning steps. And if you are a trader already, it'll be good to find out how to improve what you're doing. So definitely give him a call, get those 4 free classes, and start your journey to building your wealth. Well, as we already know, my sister in broadcasting has been on the show many times before, so she's a person that really needs no introduction. So I'm going to just throw the mic out there and say, welcome back to the show, my sister.
Well, thank you so much for having me back. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and your audience and discuss the issues of our day and help save the world.
Yeah, last week we were having some trouble, and she was talking on her cell phone, and we heard some of the conversation that she was talking about. So now we can look at her face, because I'm going to debate her today, because she is a mother. She has many broadcasts, with the Mother Solution. I can't name them all. She going to name them all for you later on. But, it's all about mothers empowering and supporting one another. And she's been on the show. She's written books, and she's talked about her books about parenting skills. And, so not that I don't agree with her parenting skills, but I just think that you got to add some other stuff to it. Like a 2x4 baseball bat. Run people over with a car. To get to get their attention. While you trying to make them listen to you. I never will forget growing up that my mom, I would get on my mom's nerve, and she would say, why don't you just go play in traffic?
Why don't you just go play in traffic?
Now,
you really got
I was a little kid, on Cottage Grove. Okay, so I ain't talking about no side street.
Wow.
My mom was, after I got old enough, I said she was trying to get rid of me.
Just go play in traffic. I don't even ask what you did to put.
I don't even know half the time, but I just remember those were some of the things that she would say, as well as, oh, you really gonna get it when your daddy get home, So, she used to threaten me with everybody. I'm going to tell this person. I'm going to tell that person. And usually telling those people never wound up with it being a good time for me. Nobody took me out for ice cream or nothing
Mm.
like that, you know. Usually when I get threatened like that, I'm like, oh Lord, somebody gonna come over and beat me upside the head again, you know. So I understand the benefits, you know, that was all she understood,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, if that's the only method you know, then you can only use what you know until you learn
Exactly.
better. And then when you
Right.
learn better, then you do better.
Right. To that same point,
Yeah.
I notice how she deal with her great grandkids, not her grandkids, but her great
Oh,
grandkids.
totally different, isn't it?
Totally
Yes.
different.
Because she's
You
learned
know,
wisdom. She
no,
didn't
she
have
just
that
don't
wisdom.
fight. She ain't got as much fighting as she used to have.
Well, I think she realized you don't have to fight.
Oh,
And
okay.
and so what is it? You attract more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Okay. Well, you go
Uh,
right ahead and explain what you, as a 2023 mother and grandmother, would suggest to parents in this area. I'm gonna sit back and listen, because you know I'm gonna come back with some more conversation after you explain it. Go ahead.
oh yes. Well, I'm glad for this opportunity because we are very shortly going to be launching an online parenting class entitled "Parenting with Peace," and it's on our New Earth Homeschool Academy line on the Teachable platform. And of course, we want to make it available to all people, but we're specifically targeting those people who have lost their children to DCFS, the Department of Children and Family Services, for various reasons. Years ago, I was teaching a parenting class in the jail to women who had lost their children to the state because when they got arrested, there was nobody to take their children, so their children ended up in foster care. And the only way they could get them back is to pass a parenting class. Well, at the time, the jail didn't offer a parenting class, which meant they was just out of luck. Their children were gone. They didn't know who had them. A lot of times they lost contact and they were pretty distressed. So my role was to teach them parenting, and I used the information on parenting contained in, at the time, the book that we'd written, Slavery, the African American Psychic Trauma. We had extensive chapters on parenting, on relationships, but mostly dealing with the fact that the way we learned how to parent came out of our enslavement experience. Beat the child until you crush their spirit, raise them in fear of punishment so that they don't rebel, because what you're trying to do is prevent them from getting a greater punishment from the authorities, which at that time were the owners, or the owners of the slave plantation. So we learned that method of crushing a child's spirit, and we thought that was the best thing to do because we were protecting our children from being sold away, from being beaten to death. But it's not good parenting. It is adjusting to a dysfunctional relationship that you have with another adult that you have allowed to assume authority that they should not have over you or your child. So we needed to undo that conditioning. But if that's all you know and you don't see an alternative, then that's what you do. And a lot of times we hear Black parents talk about how white parents let their children run wild. And so when you approach them with the idea of raising a child without any verbal or physical abuse, they say, oh, you're just gonna let these children run over you? They don't understand that you're an adult. You don't need to prove yourself as an adult as if your ego is always being challenged. You have to be mature enough to know that you are a parent modeling behavior for the child. They're learning by watching what you do. And so if you want to teach respect, you have to demonstrate respect. If you want to teach confidence, you demonstrate confidence. If you want to teach intelligence, you demonstrate intelligence. If you want to teach self management, you demonstrate self management. But you can't teach what you don't know, just like you can't lead where you don't go.
Absolutely.
Our dear brother,
Absolutely.
Reverend Jesse Jackson, always says that. And it makes a lot of sense because if
Hmm.
you are a person who's out of control of your anger, and then you want to beat a child because they're throwing a tantrum, well, what are you doing when you're beating them because you're out of control of your anger, just because you're bigger than them? So, in our parenting class, it's a 12 lesson class. And the objective is to first get the parent to recognize the things inside of them that they have to heal. The damage of being raised in a very mean spirited society that teaches you to cause pain to people who are already in pain, a society that's very insensitive and cruel. But
Hmm.
what you learned is what not to do to another human being. If you didn't like how something felt, then why would you do it to someone else? So we start out with self examination as the first lesson in the course, and really examining the things that you learned as a child and the way you were taught. And, most people will say, oh, well, I got spanked and I turned out all right. Well, did you really? Examine your relationships. Examine the harmony in your relationships. Is there any harmony in your relationships? Are you able to sustain a relationship, or are you constantly in and out of relationships blaming the other person for having something wrong with them? So we really invite people to examine themselves, because you cannot take a broken person into parenthood and you're slapping on a 2-year-old because they told you no, because your ego is challenged. I'm going to show you I'm boss. How dare you defy me? The child is 2. They're exploring their environment. They're exercising their free will. They're learning that they have free will to make choices. They're using the word that you taught them, but you and your wounded self is offended because they hurt your ego. And so now you're going to demonstrate that you're the master and they're better obey. And so you're slapping around this 2-year-old because they said to you no. And you think that's good parenting.
Now, I agree 100% with what you just said about hurt people hurting people. Okay, but that's not a universal scenario. Okay, because a lot of times people that are hurt, they are going to hurt their children, their loved ones, and folks around them because they can't help themselves. And like you said, they find themselves in situations involved with agencies and institutions that will try to steer them in the right direction on how to deal with what's going on in their life. But then you have those that are educated, okay, that know better, okay, and they still find themselves, abusing because abuse is never punishment. I just want to be clear with where I'm going with this. But I also know that there are those that follow, Christian ideology, that says spare the rod, spoil the child. Um, Children, obey your parents so that you will bring honor upon them. So there are many religious organizations that reference what a child needs as far as discipline. It even says that God disciplines whom he loves. And if he doesn't discipline you, then you're a bastard. So even the Bible says that. Now I know you're, a patriarch of the Quran. So I'm sure in the Quran there's a reference to this too, because it's universal across many religious educational cycles. I'll just say it like that. So But you mentioned something to me off air or one of our conversations one time. I can't remember if it was off air or on air. That these things in building relationships with children have to begin at a very early age. And
Absolutely.
if you don't get this relationship with your child at an early age, then when they get to an older age, it's too late then to try and instill law and order into their life because they don't have it by then it's definitely a problem.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought up the religious aspect of it because
I had to go there.
that's also one of the first things that we
Uh
address.
huh.
We're always given information from our creator, and every living being has a direct connection. You don't have to read it in a book, though you may. But what happens every time someone is given a book that has been interpreted by someone else, they also get that person's distorted point of view. So if at the core of your soul, you are an expression of love, an expression of the creator, the life force energy of creation, which is only love, not vengeance, not hate, not meanness, but love. If that's who you are and your soul knows this, then that's what your soul responds to from the very beginning. So we teach parents how to parent with love and not fear. That's a different concept because we have been taught that God parents with fear. We've made God in our image instead of us learning how to be in God's image, which is only love. Love and guidance. Now, guidance to keep a child from hurting themselves or others does not require causing pain,
Mm-hmm.
but helping a child learn empathy. In other words, let me help you feel what you're making other people feel so that you can choose not to do that. To
Mm-hmm.
help a child understand that they are connected to all people and everything they do is affecting not just themselves, but everyone else. So they have to care. That has to be instilled early, or otherwise, like you said, when you, after 15, 16 years, if you have tried to beat obedience in them, they're angry, they're rebellious, and now the authorities have a hold of them and they're behind bars at a juvenile detention center, and you want to correct the behavior. Well, now you have to use another method because you
Right.
have basically shaped them into the rebellious, angry person that they are, and you didn't know that that's what you were doing.
Absolutely.
But when we have this belief that God is as mean as we are, then
Mm-hmm.
that gives us the excuse to be mean to each other. And every single religion has been tainted with this misunderstanding about God. Every
Yeah.
single one.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, and I'm not a coffee drinker, but I know like when you pour water in, there's a filter and it's got coffee grounds in it. And that's what makes, when the coffee goes through the filter and the water that comes out is brown coffee, right? Is what, because that's what's in the
Right.
filter. But if you pour water through a filter and it's totally clean, there's nothing, but then you're going to just get pure water on the other in
Right.
the pot, right? So all of our mistaken beliefs, our beliefs that God punishes, our beliefs that God hates certain people, a belief that God is going to cast you into hell if you didn't guess the right religion or if you made mistakes in life. Our mistaken beliefs are like the coffee grounds that we pour, and then we pour the water through. And so, of course, it filters through all of our tainted beliefs and ends up the brown water as opposed to the clear water that was poured in it. The clear water is the loving teachings of the Creator that shows us that the way you influence others is to show them love. not hate, not meanness, not hostility, not guilt, shame, pain, none of those things, but to treat them as you would wish to be treated. That is the pure teachings. All the other stuff, that's the coffee grounds that makes the water brown. And so the brown water is all the belief systems, all the meanness that we believe that God is, because that's what we are. I'm going to hurt you because you offended me. I'm going to punish you because you defied me, because that's how God is. No, that's how we are. And that's what we have to unlearn. We have to return to our original state, the loving energy of the Creator. And that means us recognizing the things that we have experienced that cause us to be the mean-spirited people that we are, wanting to hurt someone. So this is a whole transformation that we're working with people to have so that we can raise a different kind of child. If we want to see this world change, we can't keep doing the same things. We can't keep having the same mean-spirited systems that hurt people, punish people for not having money, punish people for not looking attractive the way we consider attractiveness, punishing people for being a gender that we decide needs to be subordinate, punishing people for not having the belief that we want them to have, or dressing the way we want them to dress, or speaking whatever language we think they should speak, punishing people, causing them pain, causing them suffering, and believing that it's right. We can't have systems like that. And we keep creating those kind of systems because of what's inside of us that's misshapen. So first, that has to be acknowledged. That's the first part in the Parenting with Peace class, is to examine yourself and see where you are dysfunctional because of a dysfunctional society. But you can't bring a child into your home and have them be the kind of child that's going to bring forth a loving spirit into the society if you're pouring that pure water into coffee grounds and expect it to come out clear the way it was poured in. It's going to come out brown, because that's what's inside of you. So there's a lot of misconceptions that first have to be cleared up before parents can really be equipped to parent the kind of children coming into this world that we want them to prepare to change the world and correct what we misshaped, so that they actually can be balanced human beings. They can operate according to a higher level of consciousness. That means not using shame or fear or guilt or pain to teach them, but showing them lovingly and using the ability to model the kind of behavior that we want to see from them, so that they can emulate it. What we end up doing is modeling what they shouldn't be. Now, how are you going to have parents that get mad, get drunk, fight, got to call the police on each other, and then we want a child coming out of that home to be kind and respectful? No, they're gonna be exactly what they saw. They're going to demonstrate what's happening in that home. I don't care how much money the parents make or what kind of title they have. If they're mean to each other, that's what they're teaching the child. If they're mean to the child, that's what that child's going to give to the world and back to them when they get old enough.
Absolutely. So I like the analogy of the coffee grounds. I love that. That's beautiful. I will be using that, with people. I just want you to know. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm going to be using that. But let me ask you a few questions, because I'm leading somewhere with this, and I know you know where I'm going. The first thing is, what are the ages of the children that you feel that this teaching will work the best with?
Well, we're starting pre-birth all the way up to age 18, because once they have reached 18, 9 times out of 10, if they're not leaving your house, they are legally able to leave your house. So any age in between, that from, pre-birth, you're thinking about having a child, all the way to impregnation. It could, because we go through each step of even pregnancy, the kind of thoughts you should be thinking, the kinds of sounds you should have in your environment, the kind of foods, everything inner and outer that a mother should go through, and the father, the kinds of things that the father should be doing, and even the birthing process. We go through all of that. And then, of course, those formative years from birth to age 2, when the child starts expressing their thoughts in words, what are you putting into the mind of that child in those 2 years? Because at age 2, now you're going to hear from them. Because now they're using words to speak their thoughts.
Right.
And so that period of time is critical. And then, of course, you've got from 2 to 4, where their personality is being formed and reinforced by whatever you're seeing, whatever they're seeing, whatever you're saying, whatever experiences they're having. By the age of 4, their personality is formed. They're who they are. So now it's a matter of building on that. So there are things that you do in that stage between age 4 and 6, the kind of knowledge that they're absorbing, the kind of skills that they're mastering. And then you have the ages from 6 to 8, another set of skills, another level of intelligence and mastery. And then there's ages 8 to 10. And at this stage, this is the prepubescent stage, a lot of information that goes into them defining who they are and preparing for that next stage from 10 to 12. Now they're about to go into puberty, and we wait way too late to define sexual issues and self-definition of one's gender and expectations of that whole process of your body transforming. So there's a preparation that goes into that from the ages 10 to 12. And then, of course, 12 to 14, you got a full-blown hormonal child. And if you don't know how to handle that properly, you can really blow it. So there's some stages of wisdom that a parent has to impart in someone who now, particularly a female, has the capacity to be a vessel for another life to come through. And she's not emotionally ready. Just telling her things, well, stay away from these boys. No, she has to really understand life at that point. When her body is a woman and her mind is still a child, you have to give her some understanding of womanhood that will help her make right choices, not out of fear, but out of understanding. And then there's that stage from 14 to 16. And that can be a very explosive stage because, of course, children tend to feel like, well, I'm grown now. And in a sense, they are. But if you shape them the right way in those earlier years, then they're preparing for their adulthood with anticipation and with responsibility. If you didn't, then what they're doing is showing you rebellion and obstinance and lack of trust in you based on what you did in those earlier years. And then you've got the last stage from 16 to 18. You should be preparing them to leave your home, whether they're leaving to go to college or leaving simply to have their own independence. And, it's okay if they choose to stay in your home, but you need to have a different relationship with them. They need to be related to as an adult, a responsible adult. And that meant you needed to have instilled in them responsibility. So now if they're staying at home, they're contributing to your home. They're working, they're developing whatever skills that they're going to be using to sustain themselves. And they're preparing to start their own family in a way that is on purpose and not by accident. Oh, I got a girl pregnant. That's not preparing to start a family. That's creating a crisis that someone else has to adjust to. So each phase, we're teaching parents the ways to guide the child to adulthood with the expectation that they're going to come into a world that they need to be equipped, not to adjust to, but to change, to transform it, to help set it right with their very being. And so that gives them a whole different perspective of who they are and why they are existing, why they chose to be born. And we reinforce all through their life, you chose to be born and you chose to come here for a purpose. We're here as your parents to guide you through your purpose, your divine purpose for being on this earth. We're here to give you the skills, the knowledge, the support you need to become who you came here to become. That's our job. And it's a
Absolutely.
whole lot different than you don't get a job, you're going to be out in the street and you're going to be homeless. It's whole different than a fear-based
Hmm.
capitulation to a twisted kind of society that our parenting has been based on. This is parenting for children of a new earth. And so that means you are defining for them a greater purpose for their existence. And they will honor you because you're honoring them.
Absolutely. So now, understanding what you just said from pre-birth all the way up to 18, what the goal is for teaching a preborn all the way up to a young adult. Do you have a report card or an evaluation to determine when you run into a parent where they are on this scale from 1 to 100 and what their skill level is and where they're making their mistakes are so you can help them benefit from your knowledge?
An evaluation, yes, there are some, I guess you'd say, self evaluation kinds of questionnaires to help a parent to
Mm-hmm.
so that they can
Right.
recognize
See where
where they
they
are.
are. Yeah, because
Yes.
like you said, you were running into parents before that had been in the system. Well, at that point, there was some things that skill levels that they didn't have, or some understandings that they didn't have, and then the parenting was to help them get to a place where they can get their children back and be a part of their children's lives because they've improved on their parenting skill level to make sure that they want to be a part of their children's lives because some people don't want to be there. Some people have
Mhm.
children and want to dump them off at their grandparents and keep on going, and they've done that, and
Yeah.
they have children at such a young age that was really they shouldn't have been having children at that
Right.
such a young age. But now that the child is present and is here, somebody got to take care of it,
And,
you
and
know.
the thing is, a lot of what has to happen in our society. I mean, you can't make grandparents be grandparents or aunts and uncles be aunts and uncles. But our society itself is dysfunctional in that capacity of raising children. The old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. But we really don't have a village raising our children. We have a
Not
lot of
anymore.
single mothers whose mother and father got mad, kicked them out the house, so they're struggling trying to figure out how to raise a baby, and they're still a baby themselves. And so what we see out in the streets, that's the
Yeah,
effect
you
of
have to say
abandoning a
anymore.
young mother who didn't have the skills to be the
Right,
parent and did the best she knew how. But this is what came out of that experience of mothering
right,
when you're not wise enough to know how to shape a child.
right. Absolutely. Because at one time in our communities, we had village mentality in
Hmm.
our communities. On the west side of Chicago, those that evolved to the south side of Chicago, there were, I grew up knowing who my family was. We
Right.
used to have family events. We used to support one another when it was a big thing, when somebody was growing up and they had something that was worth celebrating. We all came together to celebrate that. So we had it at one time. We just lost it. Now, I have been delicately gearing up to this next question.
Oh, this would be a good one.
Okay? We have because I'm getting phone calls from all over the country. We have a situation that the national media has blown up like Chicago is totally out of control because the young people are showing up downtown and scaring everybody. Okay. And you said something to me last week on the phone that I want to make sure that we get a chance to cover on the air this week. Now, I'll tell you how I've been dealing with these phone calls when they've been coming to me like, what's going on with these children? Why they tearing up downtown? I said, first of all, they're not tearing up downtown. I don't know what you heard. What did you hear? Because that's not what's been going on. Yes, there have been some situations where there was some shooting, there was some tourists that got robbed, but everybody that showed up downtown was not out of control. Now you got kids from the west side, south side, east side, that don't get along with each other. And when you have those different factions come together, of course it's going to be a little friction and chaos, because of whatever geographical boundaries that they're from. Now they've crossed over and they showed up downtown, and you got a little chaos. Okay, but the media has turned this into a large fear factor. Okay, and I know you have said something that I want to give you a chance to say it again, and then we're going to talk about this.
Well, I probably, as a student of history, a historian, as well as a journalist, I look behind what is said in the news to look at the untold story, the real truth behind what we're being told is true. There's always an agenda. And the first question that came to my mind is, why would children suddenly decide right after an election where two men had a very different opinion about how to handle crime, one that was very distinctly pro-police and was backed by the Fraternal Order of Police, and expounded on his belief that what we needed to do is hire more police, bring many of them out of retirement that had been forced or urged to retire, and have more patrols on the street. And then the other candidate who was saying he wanted to remove some of the powers of the police to handle things that really were mental health issues and to address the causes of crime, as opposed to merely throwing more police and arrests at the crime, but really identifying what is causing the unrest and dealing with some of the extreme force being used by officers who were clearly poorly trained to handle situations. Mm-hmm. And he made you so you could see that the every single debate, that issue stood out as the difference in the way they would handle crime. And we know that the catchphrase, the code word for crime is out of control young Black people. Right. We know that. So now, just so happened, Paul Vallis, who was pro-police, and Brandon Johnson, who was pro-mental health assistance, well, Brandon Johnson won. So how is it that right after the announcement that Chicago is going to be the site of the 2024 Democratic Convention, and one of the reporters at the big press conference that they held downtown Chicago, right on the lakefront, he said, "How will you keep us safe?" He asked that to the current mayor, to the mayor-elect, to the governor, because that's what everybody's afraid of. How y'all gonna keep these young Black children that we saw tear up the city when they were angry over police killings of George Floyd and all of that? How y'all gonna keep them in control? Because we're afraid. Now that was the question that the reporter asked. He didn't point to young black children, but we know that's when people
Mm-hmm.
say crime and violence, we know that that's a code word for young black children.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, right after that, suddenly, children, young people, have the ability to organize on social media, a major organized effort, 1,000 young people to go downtown and create mayhem. Right after that, just out of nowhere, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
so. Not as a student of history, looking at COINTELPRO, looking at how when our organizations are infiltrated by paid informants to create chaos, there's always a political agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that this has happened and the nation is looking at Chicago and saying, why can't you people get your children in order?
Mm-hmm.
What does that do? Well, that forces the hand of the mayor elect to now then turn to the police and say, well, we're going to need more police.
Right.
Like my opponent said, we're going to have to hire some more police. We're going to have to give the police more powers of control. We're going to have to give the
Mm-hmm.
police more abilities to arrest and to detain and to pursue because people are afraid. And if people are afraid to shop downtown, then where is our major income going to come from? From our magnificent mile, where we know that when they don't make money, then we're all in trouble. Because that's how
Mm-hmm.
our current state's attorney, Kim Foxx, got elected. When people were angry over police brutality and boycotted the stores on North Michigan Avenue on Black Friday, suddenly there was a turn of events, and the old state's attorney got voted out, and Kim Foxx got voted in because
Mm-hmm.
money talks. So now,
Right.
suddenly, when there is a political difference of opinion about policing, youth have these great organizing skills to converge on downtown by the thousands and create just enough mayhem to scare everybody. It's not
Yeah.
by chance,
Right.
it's not by accident.
Right.
It was very much orchestrated. And of course, there are informants, agent provocateurs that are planted. And how easy is it to put a message out on social media? Now, if you're a parent who is not paying attention to your child, you haven't given your child some ethics and some values, oh, they're going to follow along with the crowd. Oh, this looks like fun. Let's have this meetup. Yeah, everybody's doing it because you did
Mm-hmm.
not have the wisdom to tell them when they're about to be used as a political tool
Right.
for a greater purpose is not going to benefit you. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have the wisdom as a parent, especially if you're a young parent and you're basically just living on survival mode. You're not deep into the politics of things. You're not paying attention.
Not paying attention.
So, yes, this happened. And I do not for 1 minute believe it just happened out of the blue because there definitely is a political agenda behind it and certain people who stand to gain by forcing the hand of the mayor elect, Brandon Johnson, to be more pro police.
Yeah. Yeah. After you mention that, I can easily see that who stands to gain from this type of chaos and confusion in our, central business district, our downtown area. Because if people are afraid to go downtown, and that's what you're hearing,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, and I've been saying this for the last month or so, that the Republicans have successfully sown fear
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. They've been talking about it since before Trump was president. The megas, all black people gonna move into your house, and not moving to your house, but they're gonna come in your neighborhood, rape your wives, and rape your children. So now we got fear everywhere on the as a poster child on every situation and every circumstance that they wanted to be on. They have sown fear so great and large that a man in Kansas City went to the door with a gun in his hand, saw a black person, just open fire. And the person wasn't there to do any harm. He was just knocking on the door looking for his twins,
I
his
don't know if
his
you
brother.
saw the report. His ex-wife came forward and said, "Don't feel sorry for that man. He was a wife beater. I had to flee from my life when I was married to him. He meant to do that. That's who he is." So
Yeah,
she's come out to basically change the narrative that we're, oh, frightened old man, poor thing. Well,
right.
this scary looking black boy was at his door. Well, no wonder. No, no. Uh,
That's who he
he's a
is anyway.
killer. He's a wife
Yeah,
beater. And
right,
he came to the door to kill somebody and he was not afraid. Don't buy that. So
right.
his ex-wife said that. And I don't think she said it to be vindictive. I think she said it because it's
No,
true. That's my opinion.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I believe
and
her.
but that's a scenario that have been put out there in the atmosphere that people are grabbing hold to and holding on to it.
Hmm.
I don't think that all of those young people had an agenda to go down there to tear up downtown. Okay, yeah, they've done some stupid
Yeah.
stuff. They do what kids do.
Yeah. I
One
think they
thing,
were urged to
right? Yeah, they took
coalesce
on.
like that, and that
Yeah,
was done by those who intended to use them for that purpose. Now I look at it like this: our cell phones are great tools, uh, and if our young people have the power to communicate and organize and gather that that effectively, well then why are we not steering them to organize on much more empowering things? You can organize people to gather together and buy plots of land, grow food, distribute. I mean, if you can organize a group to distribute drugs that have been deemed illegal, you can organize to have people distribute food and products that are legal and health producing. You can organize gatherings to put someone in office that expresses your opinion. You can organize to create your own institutions of learning. If you got that kind of organizing skills on a cell phone through social media, then why aren't we teaching you to organize for things that truly empower you as opposed to setting you up to be a target?
yeah,
So that's where I hold parents accountable because of our small thinking. Like you said, we've been indoctrinated with fear. So the only thing we can think of is how to respond. These kids need their butts beat because we've been the slave mind. We've been
mm,
indoctrinated that's how you instill fear in somebody so you can control them. People don't
right,
need to be controlled. They
right,
need to be taught so they can be self-managed, so that
right.
they can operate for the good of the collective body. That's what needs to be taught. That's what our parenting classes do, because we're
Yeah,
teaching that we are a collective body. You're not in competition with this person you got to take from them. We're all just like we're all breathing the same air. If I poison the air, I'm not hurting you, I'm hurting me because I'm going to
right.
breathe the same poison.
Yeah,
So if we learn these things, if we learn these universal truths, instead of the
hmm
lies that we've been living that got us in this mess, then we can fix the mess that we made. We made this mess. Whatever our children are doing, we made this mess because of our own incorrect beliefs, our
yeah,
own misindoctrination. And we can undo that. We have the power to undo that. But first step is admitting that it's there,
yeah,
knowing that what you're thinking has to change in order to change your reality. Because if you don't like the reality you're living, change it. And our children are brilliant and they
yeah,
got all the tools they need to transform this world. We have to teach them how to use it properly and not let
yeah,
themselves be misused for their own demise. Because what's going to happen this summer, the hammer's going to come down on all these young people. We're going to see more over policing, more excessive force. Some nice little college student that ends up getting killed. Everybody's going to be outraged, but then everybody's going to kind of let it go because they're still holding on to the fear of what they saw this summer. Young people, they got played. They got set up for their own demise because people are going to allow it to happen because they're now being made afraid of young people, especially young black people.
yeah. And you're right. The police union. the racist organization that exists nationwide, they have the most to gain from this, and they're going to use it. And it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to require some extensive work to try and find out who the people are that are organizing this and who are pulling the trigger to make these things happen, and then getting them under control.
You know what I
Because,
think?
hmm
I don't think it even so much matters who it is, because you can become immune to a disease once you understand how to create the immunity. So it
hmm
isn't so much as finding those who are responsible, because they'll never admit it in the first place, but it's making sure that you and your household are not acceptable to any provocation that they may put forth. It's empowering yourself with awareness so that you don't go for the okey doke. And yes, there are people who are intending to misuse our disorganization, but we don't have to fall for it. And also, every police officer, every single person, we're like cells in the body of God. Every single one of us. Now, you can be a cancerous cell, you can be a healthy cell. Even the police officers, each one of them, each soul inside that uniform, every act is an act of self definition. Do you really want to be the person who is corrupted and who is killing some innocent young person, or hurting some innocent young person, or provoking some innocent young person? Are you doing this because you got to get a quota of arrests or a quota of tickets or whatever it is that they're demanding of you? And if this is a job that's corrupting your spirit, do you really want this job if that's what it requires? Because at some point you have to decide, if I can't be the honest, upstanding person that I wanted to be in wearing this uniform, then I don't want to wear it, because I'm not going to be forced to arrest people that are not guilty and find people who've done nothing wrong, because I got to meet a quota, because the city got to have me raise funds because it lost some money during COVID. And so now it's putting pressure on the policemen to be out here fundraising. And that's what arresting and ticketing and all this is about. And so they go into the poorest neighborhoods where people have the least defenses to raise their funds by giving them excessive tickets. That's what the Ferguson explosion was all about. And they're doing it here in Chicago, creating
hmm
distress for everybody. So
Right.
if you as a police officer, you're seeing that this is not right, you're feeling within your own soul, this is not what you came to do, and taking on a job that you thought was a noble job, then either speak up or quit. Because we have to change the whole policing system. It can't be what it is right
Absolutely.
now.
I totally agree. Look, where can they find you? You and your empowering women, because you all have so many shows
Yes,
that you
every
talk
day.
about, and I want people to be able to access this information, on a regular dosage, because I'm not even going to go where I was going to go, because you just didn't put your platform out there, and I wanted to keep it right there so that people can understand. I'll talk about my stuff on another show, because I was ready to bust them in the head. But go ahead. Where can they find you at? Because at some point in time, we're past, where they would have been. It would have been beneficial for them to know what not to get involved in. We're past that now, so we got to be proactive and trying to protect who we can protect and save as many children as we can.
We have
But
to have
where
a
can they find you? Where can they find you?
they can find me every day. Well, I produce the Female Solution Global Radio TV show Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central, uh, 12 noon to 2 p.m. on Saturdays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sundays, that's all Central Time, of course, and adjust it to whatever time frame you're in, wherever you are in the country. www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. And we're also on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution uh, Facebook and YouTube channel. And also, every individual hosts their own Facebook and YouTube channels. So we're on a multiplicity of channels, and on Podbean and other platforms. But of course, you can also go to www.onaireverywhere.com, and we have each daily show archived on our radio network page, so you can go there, and it has all the daily lineup of each of our hosts. We have hosts from across the country and even across the world. Our first Saturday host is live out of London, England. And we've got hosts out of Atlanta, Georgia, and out of Florida. And we just really enjoy presenting a national and global perspective. Both you can hear and see. And shows are always in the archive. So if you miss it live, if you're a late riser, that's okay. You can just go right to the archives and hear any show. And feel free to comment. And of course, we always appreciate those who participate. We have a wonderful audience of loyal listeners who are brilliant in their contributions. We don't always agree, but we always listen. And we appreciate all of you.
So, as always, I have to ask this question. Will you come back and see me again?
Absolutely. Anytime you ask.
Thank you. And I want to ask, what do you want to leave with the people before we get out of here today?
We are winning this battle. Do not be afraid. The earth is changing, and what we're seeing is an exposure of that which needs to be transformed. Do not be afraid. We are empowered to transform the world in the way we would like it to be. It is in our hands. Do not be afraid. Be empowered.
All right. All right. Thank you, my sister, once again. You know, I appreciate you. You know, I love you. You know, and I thank you for coming to be a part of what I do here.
Well, I always have fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope some people heard something today that will make them think, you know, because when I'm entertaining phone calls from people, you know, that are listening to whatever they're listening to in their community, I'm like, what are they telling you?
Yeah.
So that I know what you're hearing, you know, so that I know how to address the conversation. I'm like, did they tell you they tore up the downtown area? No, that's not what they did.
We have to understand that we've also been manipulated to respond with anger at our children and to agree to their brutality when it happens. So that's the other part of the agenda, to agree to allow your children to be brutalized. That's why I know that the young people did not do this with the full consciousness of the intention of the outcome, because the next step is to brutalize them, but there will be no public outcry. And this was the reason why
we got a reason now.
Right.
Yes.
This is the reason why back in 1995 that Minister Louis Farrakhan organized the Million Man March, because he saw it. He saw it coming. He said, the world is going to hear the brutality of our young Black men, and there will be no outcry because everybody has seen them as dangerous and needing to be controlled and confined and contained. And so when it happens, no one's going to protest. So that's why he showed a different picture of Black people to the world.
Put a million men together.
Yes.
That were about something.
Yes.
Successful Black men and women.
Yes.
And women. It was a million of them.
Yes.
You know, and then they tried to say it wasn't a million.
It was almost 2 million. Yes, it was.
Yeah, they said, oh, it wasn't no million. Yeah, and it was very peaceful. People came from all over the country.
That's how we know we can do it. We can organize
peacefully. And then the powers to be tried to say, oh no, it wasn't a million. It might have been 1,000, 100,000, you know, but it wasn't no million. You remember? Come on now.
I remember. You know, that's us know to ignore other people and go with our own.
Right. Do our own math. Right.
Mathematics. Our own media.
Right. And that's what we are.
That's what
we are the voice of the people for real. Okay. You know, right here on this platform, I don't have a problem giving a voice to people, the heroes and sheroes in our community that people, the mainstream media, will not pay any attention to. We have heroes and sheroes in our community, and I'm a living witness. I broadcast them every chance I get. So that being said, because you know I can go another hour, but we ain't going to do that today. Thank you, my sister. I love you. Thank you so very much. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Stay there. Don't go nowhere. I'm going to tell you what I got to say off the air because I ain't get a chance to get to it on the air. But I'm going to tell you, you ain't got to run off nowhere, do you? Stay
No,
right there in the
I'm here
green
for the
room.
night. Yeah.
Stay right there. Okay. All right. Look, I want to invite you guys to come join me tomorrow on Street News Now. We are every Wednesday for the noon report. We will be talking about commentaries and what's been going on in the national news on crazy stuff that's happening all over the world. Also, join me each and every Saturday at 12 noon from the desk of Dr. Ron, where I give you a commentary from my heart on what's going on and what I'm seeing and what can be a blessing to you. Also, I want to thank all those that have made contributions, that have supported me. Please continue to do so. Support my advertisers. Without them, I would not be able to do what I do. I want to thank you all. Please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you so very much. Please send this out. You might want to take a parenting class. Get involved. Take that test. Find out where your parenting skills are at. I'm at the bottom of the list, y'all. They're going to have to get, they just going to have to pray for me. But love you guys. See you all on tomorrow. Stay blessed.